Hey everybody, Rose Matter here, and welcome to part 18 of my Great Ace Attorney Chronicles Let's Play. In the last episode, the final trial has started, and despite hoping against hope that there would be some surprise, like Susato visit, like maybe she didn't end up leaving after all, that doesn't seem to be the case. We don't have confirmation that she's gone, but we have Iris with us as kind of our assistant, and so far, as usual, things are looking really bad from the start. Didn't help some seemingly conclusive evidence like a picture of Gina pointing a gun at Windabank and a lot of witnesses, but slowly we're whittling things down as we always do, and we're finding the discrepancies and stuff, and it ended with the Skulkin brothers, I believe they're called, the two witnesses, where it turns out that they were lying on the stand. So I'm guessing we're going to get some more testimony out of them and try and figure out some more about this case. So without further ado, let's get back into it. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. And then we also got Gregson, who may or may also be the third Skulkin brother secretly. I presume you heard the defense counsel summation examination. Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov, I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Core, blimey! This is going to be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windabanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as, weren't it? This little guy just makes me he looks like a little bulldog. It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out of me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Core, blimey. On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. They're already breaking and entering, attempted murder, so not great for them. Don't know how much worse it could be. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. So of course they're gonna lie on the stand again. It's not gonna be truthful. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab. We'll squeal. We'll peach. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, it didn't have give me a fright. We was thinking the shoot'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scapered, straight to him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windabank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. She's just like, you're lying straight away. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't you make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windabanks that night. They were coming for something specific. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. I'm guessing, like I said, my theory is somehow McGilded is still alive, and these guys were coming in to get something of his that he left there. Okay. If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people think we was up to no good. Well said, Ringo, me old China. We'd only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact, now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourself in even more trouble. That's rotten luck. Says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. Sorry. It was when we heard the gunshot, made us both jump and all that. Stuff went flying. So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much you knocked all those things off the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah? This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright? Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up at that bang. Big bruv here screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. Okay, now that they're talking, it makes me think maybe not these guys came in to get something of McGilded's. It could have been a coincidence. They happened to see that the door was open, figured, you know, take advantage of the situation, do some ransacking. But there's someone else, I'm guessing, who came in that night, whether with the intent to kill Windibank or he or she got spooked and killed Windibank, but they were looking for something. But not Gina. Gina's innocent. Someone working for McGilded. That got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked over them scales on the floor. You really mastered working quietly, then. What a racket. Me granny would have been scared back in her grave at a clatter like that. So, in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quiet as a mouse, and then... Oh. Let's pursue that.
Excuse me.
Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No, something to add about their testimony. You seem to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Oh. Might have, Gov. Might have. Does ring a bell, now that you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. That's a pretty big detail, I'd say. And the fact that they omitted that, I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time. That's it. Yep, it's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Right you are, Gov. Alright, here we go. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun." So, in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. We did, Gov, we did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Alright, can you say if it was a woman or if it was a man? That would help a lot, kind of thing. A career in acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could. From the other side of that door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom, where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windibank. On me granny's life, of course it was. On his granny's life, of course it was. So, that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windibank and the sound of his voice. So that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas? Yes, Counsel, indeed it would. No. We didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when that bloke and all the fancy clobbers giving us the evil eye? If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. On me granny's life, it is. On his granny's life, it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then heard the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them all over the shop floor. You make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget, we tidied up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. Alright, the bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Except she was holding the gun, right? Okay, let's press this. She had the gun in the picture. You're saying Mr. Windibank had a gun in his hands. Oh, yeah, bet that was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other. Must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shut it out, we heard the geezer say, if you don't want to get shot. Didn't really sound like he meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Windibank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. Wait, that's... okay. So they're saying that Windibank had the gun on him, but it was found in her hand, in Gina's hand. But she had the gun. Okay, I'm gonna have to... I guess that picture... I'll see if I can use that. People say to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. Well, he said he put it in his own head. That's someone, being himself, of course. Good grief, extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only, the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper. Bet he wished he'd squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Gimme that gun." And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. It was more or less at the same time, Gov. Gimme that gun. Bam. Kind of thing. Yes, a career in acting, very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck, before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash job tidying the place up, and they look so proud. Did have to give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out and get us next. So, you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life. It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked, weren't it? No way that was opening. Yes, of course. It was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe. So, this bolsters my belief that there's some sort of secret passageway, because the door was locked from the inside. Whoever was the actual murderer, because right after that happened, those two guys tried to get out, shot Sholmes, and then they all stayed until the cops showed up, so there would have been no time for the real killer to actually be able to leave that room. It was, Gov, it was, from the inside. Right, so we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Like, through the keyhole or a spy hole, perhaps? Don't ring no bells, don't light no lights. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We're still cutting our teeth in this game, see? But one day... we'll really cut the mustard. Please, cut it out. But as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. Gina was in there, unconscious, with a gun in her hand. Like, whoever was the actual murderer, I guess, went in, um, wasn't expecting to find Gina in there, but figured, like, oh, I'll knock her out and use her as, like, a patsy. But Gina, I would assume, would have maybe seen the person who actually attacked Windibank. She would have said something, I imagine, if that had happened. I don't know. To confirm, would it be correct to say neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Gov. That's right. Couldn't have, even if we wanted to. Alright, stuck everything back where we found it and scapered straight into him in the black. Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, yeah. We was a bit astray, hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Good advice, miss. Good advice. Truth be told, me mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss. After that, we legged it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or summon, so they clapped the darbies on us like winkin'. And after you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves it, doesn't it, eh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance. And why should we believe that? Eh? What? Well, 'cause it's true, isn't it? The place was totally empty when we went in. This is the only thing I believe of them, that they didn't actually shoot Windibank. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windibank. Correct? You also didn't lay eyes on the accused, so... You got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windibank. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony? What is it, Runo? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh. But I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something. Something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I've got no proof to support it. I do have proof to support it. The whole thing about the Windibank gun. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in your brain and will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling, like you describe. You've concluded there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Okay, let's make sure we get the right one here. Okay, was it that one? Here we go, here we go. So I'm going to present... Oh boy, we got a lot of, Yeah, there it is. Photograph of Gina. We'll present that. You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You got the picture. He has, Nash. He has. No question. And yet, the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not in possession of a firearm of any description. Objection! You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more? Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is severely lacking, counsel. Why does this feel like the bad choice I just made? Yeah, that's right. Too right, Nash, too right. The old geezer could have just been about to turn the tables on the girl, eh? Hardly likely. No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence. Ugh. Continue with the cross-examination, counsel. Damn it! And heed my earlier warning, witnesses. Okay, let's go through this again. Give me the gun. It's holding a gun, so he should just fired it instead of yelling at the girl. So I pressed that, or I presented evidence, but it wasn't right. Okay, let me go through my evidence here. Oh, wait. Okay, so he was, yeah, so he was shot in the back. The way that they're making it sound, like they were having the whole thing about, like, you know, if Windibank was yelling at Gina, or Gina, yeah, he was yelling at Gina, and then she shot him, he wouldn't be yelling at her while he had his back to her, turned to her, right? Okay. Okay, that might be it. But I just gotta figure out where would I present that if I'm on the right, like, path with this. Okay, maybe I'll present it here. There's also the autopsy report. Or the crime scene photograph. Did a single bullet wound from the back. Okay, I'm gonna try this one. Oh my god, did I get it? Please. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? Okay. I think I'm right here. That's it, Gov. You've got the picture? I do. I literally have the picture. He has, Nash. He has. No question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description. Oh, okay. I thought we were going to be talking about the fact he was shot in the back, not the front, if he was, you know, in a confrontation. Eh? You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right. There could be no question the victim's revolver was used in the incident. Except, yeah, why are they so sure about Windibank when they didn't even see him? Or so they say. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, it was found in the accused's hand. Now this is what I have to, like, find a reason for. Yeah, that mole tooler used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam. Kind of thing. See, the way that they're doing it, they're making it seem like they were having a confrontation and he got shot in the front instead of the back. Stay exactly where you are, right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described in your testimony, oh, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you acted out. Okay, yes. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Do I present the picture again? Or do I present the autopsy report? I'm guessing they want, like, an actual, like, physical visualization of it, so I'm gonna present that. Interesting that I can present the same evidence twice. According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of, "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Ah, so he's saying he wouldn't have time to turn around and get shot in the back. That's right. Now, if the testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, if I could ask the court to study the photograph of the victim's body again, you can clearly see Mr. Windibank was in fact shot from behind. Ah. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Ah! But it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand, and we saw with our own bleeding eyes. How? How? We gotta get into this. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windibank holding a gun. Something like that might have slipped out. Okay, we need to get into this. What the heck? Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun, which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Is Gregson not going to say anything about that? Like, did they not mention that at all? Order, order, order. Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, a word's supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, Cut it out, Nash. Cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us. Oh! He will do to us! Are they working for McGilded after all? He? Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Ugh. Brav, come on. The game's up. But he'll have us guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it for that door in the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. Sure it was. So, you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Uh-huh. Very well. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. They're lying by omission. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank. Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was going to come out of that back room like that. The back room being the pawnbroker's storeroom. Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So, it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windibank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What? That Maltooler? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Cobber. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it.
Hold it!
You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claimed you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, hehe, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Windibank, wielding a gun at that time? Was he ever? Blimey, lummy, a great ugly barrel he had, pointed straight at me frontispiece. Yeah, there's the whole thing, it's like, why would Gina just let Windibank have the gun that she used to threaten him? Makes no sense. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windibank with a gun at that time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. Then, all of a sudden, he came at us, he did? It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it. I mean... Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony, too. Well, yeah, of course we did. So that's the real reason everything got, like, disturbed, was just him throwing him over the counter? He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette. Yeah, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Bruv here went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell you. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There is a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windibank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windibank? Nah, never. I was just, you know... looking out for me bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then, the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off for the door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windibank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him, with a gun. Yeah, why would he go back in? Yeah, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windibank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windibank's hands? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and my bruv here. That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and my bruv here. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all that happened. You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was, from the inside. We know it was, because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So, in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom, with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. Here's my thing. Do the brothers even know what Mr. Windibank looks like? It could have been the actual killer who came out, who got spooked by someone coming in and chased them out, or like tried to scare them off before he killed Windibank. But we did show a picture of Windibank, and the guys didn't say anything about being like, wait, that's not the guy that we saw, so I'm guessing it was Windibank. It would appear so. What say you to that, Counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly shot Mr. Windibank? I'll say there could have been. Because I feel by saying there wasn't, then that would just be, I'd be dead in the water with this. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. I keep wanting to say Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin. Eh? What? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is, who could have shot Mr. Windibank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. Alright, the victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Oh boy, do I have any proof of this? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of 2 conundrums. Uh-oh. 2, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed. Namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Oh, okay. Understood, my lord. Oh no. Are you alright, Runo? I have no idea. I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. I'm great at bullshitting. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So, now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Oh no. Okay, if you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Okay, so if we're saying that there's no possible way to get into the storeroom, I guess it would have to be there, and there's no like windows or anything. Is Ryunosuke gonna say like someone could have been outside here? Because he keeps saying that there was like the peephole, right? That's right, because he looked in and he saw Gina and Windibank. So it would be tough to do, but someone could have fired from outside the storeroom through the peephole inside. So I don't see any other options, so I'm gonna go with that. The defense believes the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. Oh my gosh. That's where he's going with it. He is going to say that. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? I guess like, it'd have to be like straight across like that. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, good. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. I was waiting for him to be like, that is impossible. Mr. Windibank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear the body was moved after death, which tells us he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? Shoot, so if they're saying that's the case, then there's no way, like, how did Gina end up with the gun in her hand? Was she actually holding up Windibank to let her into the storeroom, maybe to get the manuscripts? But yeah, how did she get knocked out and get the gun in her hand? That's the thing I want to know. I don't even want to believe Gina could do that much about holding Windibank up to rob him. Or to at least see that the manuscript is in there. So you're adamant the shot was fired from outside the storeroom. Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it for that door in the back room. Oh wow, is he saying that they shot him? Mr. Windibank ran through the door. We have to assume that the door was open at the time. Ah! Oh, I'm a dummy. I was thinking he shot through the keyhole. But how did it get locked from the inside then? It was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life. that the brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. That's what I'm guessing the prosecution is going to say, is be like, well, how did the door get locked then? Come to think of it, do you remember when what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. Ah, okay. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. It could be someone shorter, but it could also be someone who is like lying down on the ground or who is crouched. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away, so even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windibank. I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed. Yes, there we go, that's what we need to figure out, and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? Ah, but what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Oh, it'd be Gina, because if she was the only one in there with him. Maybe to protect them? Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside? Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Oh, alright. Yeah, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it? I thought I was gonna get all serious, but it's just like, oh, I don't know. Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh, yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windibank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windibank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windibank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who just murdered Mr. Windibank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life. But I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We'd never shoot no one, you know, despite the fact that you've been lying this whole time. I still don't believe they actually did it, though. That's blatantly untrue. Well, except that's right, they shot Sholmes, so they actually would have no problem shooting someone. But then okay, so I think only one shot from their revolver was fired though, right? And that was at Sholmes, so they wouldn't have been able to shoot if that's the case. Hold on. Let me check something. It wasn't with Windibank's gun. Windibank had the gun. And then I'm guessing Gina took it for, like, defending herself. That's why she had it in her hand. We got the Skulkin brothers. Oh, there we go. A single round was fired, and that single round was fired at Shom. So it couldn't have been them because... Okay, this is the thing that we're going to have to get into next, is like, it wasn't with Windibank's gun. Or was it? Yeah, I'm so confused because a shot was fired from Windibank's gun. So did the brother... No, that wouldn't work. Even if the brother had shot him with Windibank's gun, how did it end up in Gina's hand, right? If she had locked the door right after. That's the big thing that we have to figure out. So, couldn't have been the Skulkin brothers' gun. Very, very unlikely to be Windibank's gun. So, Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windibank's murder. Ugh. Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shitty as it's forced. I love the three brothers, and Gregson's like, no, not me. That was amazing, Runa. But of course, Zeke's is going to turn things around, and he's going to turn the jury back against us. Because this always happens, where it seems like it's going our way, and then it doesn't. And it's the whole thing about the gun. That's the big issue, is it couldn't have been their gun. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, first time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not... Yep, here we go. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing? You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zeeks. I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I dare say, such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing? I'm pretty sure I know where he's going with this. I say, Lord Van Zeeks. Might be an idea to explain this bally conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground, The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. Yep. By George, count bullets. Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Counsel. Yes, sir. Tell the court, how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime? Two. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life, and the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windibank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if a single bullet that was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means... Windibank not shot by the same gun. Stop. Only one bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented in why do I have trouble with that word? Ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Order, order, order. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery. Lord Van Zeeks. But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. Alright, we're going to get into these music things, these music discs. That disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. No, don't. Don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss. But anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Obviously, they figure something was up with McGilded's case and they're looking into it more. Yes, that music box disc. McGilded's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her. And with none of that subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious. Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on account of your years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril. Yep, just like that, they're swayed back over to his side. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel, as a grim testament to the defendants. Ooh, Jesus. Lord Van Zeeks, Inspector Gregson. What? Yes, Inspector. We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. Oh, interesting. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions, right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Oh, now we got the government involved. Something shady going on here. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed, bailiff. So it's like the government's trying to cover up something for McGilded because McGilded was... I still think he is secretly alive somewhere. They want to cover something up that he did because he gives a lot of money to the city, and he's Mr. Philanthropist, and they want to stay in his good graces, or maybe he's got, like, dirt on people, so the government wants to play nice and not let anything of Windibank's get out. The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. There's nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once. For all of 5 minutes, I was just about to say, I was like, that was the quickest turnaround I've seen yet of everyone being on a side to not at all. Oh dear, it wasn't even for 5 minutes, Runo. And Iris knew about the gunshot things and she didn't say anything. She is stone cold. She's like, do whatever it takes to get that not guilty verdict. My lord, wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up till now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden... The answer is bally obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Oh no. Very well. The court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
Here we go.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Now we gotta swing it back.
Guilty.
I just love the doctor smashing it with his with his face. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. Ugh, how dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windibank. That's beyond any doubt. It's nice to see him be so sure of himself, even without Suzato here. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? I love the judge doesn't even, wait for me to say I want one. He knows I'm gonna ask for one. Garradeb Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief. I gotta get into this. He keeps talking about which I'm sure is Hurlock. The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There's nothing I do not know about guns. It would seem there's little remaining room for doubt. Have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. Ugh, the whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris? That prosecutor's being mean. Just because Ginny's done something she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually. That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. I just love how he's gotten so confident. Character progression. Just because Miss Lestrade has a history of pickpocketing, she must be guilty of murder. Is that what you're saying? Ah, well. Are all members of the British Army so quick to judge? I beg your pardon? Are you mocking Her Majesty's Armed Forces, the greatest military organization in the world? No, I'm simply illustrating my point. Making assumptions about people because they're a soldier or a pickpocket is wrong and dangerous. Well, yes, might have a point there, I suppose. But let's not forget the girl had already shown she had it in her from before. She's clearly a criminal sort, through and through. Can't deny it. When you say she'd shown she had it in her, are you referring to this? Exactly. Tried to swipe that only a day earlier, Or am I mistaken? Not exactly. Given that I was actually there at the time, it's hard to refute that. I've never actually seen the real thing. I can't wait to have a closer look at it. I need to know about these music discs and how they relate to the McGilded case. Oh, yes, of course. Oh, I miss him so much. Mr. Sholmes did use his caramel bars to make a copy of the disc, didn't he? And then ordered every type of music box he could find from across Europe. We still don't know what tune it plays, though, do we? But I'd love to see how the original compares to Hurley's copy. McGilded's disc. Could it be a clue somehow? Perhaps we should examine it in more detail. Should we do that now, or should I wait? Maybe I should do it now before I forget. Especially because if Iris brings it up, that means that it might have something to do with this exact thing. So, space. Oh, Runo, look. This is blood. Oh, can she test it? Has she tested it? You're right. A small smear, but definitely blood. Yeah, let's find out whose blood is on it. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Then it's my time to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Runo. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? Yeah, we're in the middle of a summation examination. We're like, hold on, we gotta do some stuff first. In a flash. Green. Okay, so same as on the calendar. Oh, wait. Wait a minute. Green. That would have been, I would assume, Herlock, but Herlock's blood, would that be on the disc? I don't think so. A lovely bright shade again. Wait, that color. What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? Because we don't know what Herlock's, we don't know what his color blood is. So I don't think that's, that green blood on the calendar might not be his. Interesting. Well, I'm glad I checked that. Alright, I think this might actually be quite helpful, after all. It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although... Yes? Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So, I suppose. If there was another bullet somewhere, of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. Okay, a 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene. Could that be possible? I'm gonna say it's impossible right now, but let's get some more information. Unfortunately, only 2 bullets were discovered by the police during their investigation. Yes, I know. Right. And I don't imagine the good men of Scotland Yard would have overlooked anything. If I missed a bullet while I was cleaning his lordship's office, well... I should receive a sound scolding, I don't doubt. And he should receive a visit from the police, perhaps. It sounds like a crime scene to me. A 3rd bullet would completely turn things around if there was one, wouldn't it? Do you think we might find one lying around somewhere? If only it were that easy. So if I've understood correctly, you need 2 pictures, a left eye one and a slightly different right eye one. Exactly, then you can see the scene in 3 dimensions. Like this. So if we have 2 bullets, I don't suppose you could see anything useful with them. I think you'll find that no matter how much you squint, the truth of the situation always looks the same here. And the only person who could have shot the victim is that girl in the dock. How can you be so sure of that? Think about it. The Skulkin brothers shot the great detective, didn't they? Yes, that's been mentioned once or twice. Well, then, surely it's coming to focus now, isn't it? This is a waste of time. I'm not going to change this man's mind anytime soon. Okay, let's... I need to know more about this, about Herlock. Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? But it does. The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it's nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. Here we go, here we go. Huh? I mean, there's no question the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. Whoa! What? What? Hold on. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? Okay. The music stopped. That means we're gonna get some information here. Come on. I almost don't want to ask, but this surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on... What was the fellow's name now? Herlick? No. Herlock? No. Herlock? Herlock Sholmes, by any chance? Yes, good lord. It was that Hairlock fellow. I love his music plays even when he's not here. You're the surgeon, right? Surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes? That's right, using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It's a fairly major op, I can tell you. I mean, he saved him, but at the same time being like, we've got the top surgeons working on him, and then he thinks he's left something in him. It's like, this is crazy. Let me see. The fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up. Okay. I hate to state the obvious, but... Yes? Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting. Oh, here we go. Here we go. The counsel for the defense is correct, as is clearly shown in this photographic print. The bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region, then exited his body and lodged into the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem three-dimensionally. Ha! Who do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do. As soon as I saw the wound to the man's stomach, I flipped him over. Like a pancake? Are you saying you checked his back? Oh, is he saying that it didn't exit out? Oh shit, so that might be the answer of, like... So if that bullet didn't exit out of Herlock, and the blood, the green blood is the same as in the calendar and on the music disc, then that's not Herlock. So that kind of solves the question about, like, there's another bullet, we just don't know where it is right now if it's not in Herlock. Hold on. Of course I did, and there wasn't a trace of injury. No sign the bullet had left the body at all. What? Here we go. That's the point. The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards, which is exactly why I said about slicing him up. And I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can someone please explain how it happened? Can somebody please solve the mystery? It's almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. The mystery where the bullet ended up is infuriating. Where's an expert when you need one? Oh, what's his face? The Russian guy. Didn't he say he's an expert? Okay, let's hear what everybody has to say first. But I think I know what to do here. I'll press everybody, but I think I've got to have those two talking to each other. What do you mean you're in for a busy day? Forgot to say, stop. Do excuse me, stop. I am a communications officer. Stop. A communications officer? Does that have something to do with sending telegrams? Everything from personal messages written by members of the public to the latest news in the capital. I convert all the messages into Morse code and tap it out to the entire world electronically. To the entire world? Thousands of miles of cable under the sea. Stop. Worldwide communication network. Stop. Information transmitted to and from all corners of globe. Stop. Yes. She was getting equally worked up about radio waves and the like before, wasn't she? I specialize in communicating information from government departments and newspaper offices. I see. I'm sure I shall have to wire the newspaper reports of today's guilty verdict later. So, no sleep for me tonight, I imagine. Let's just finish the trial first, shall we? I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There's nothing I do not know about guns. There we go. This is where we can have them talk to each other. But let's get a little bit of information out of him first. I thought you were just a tourist. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So, you're a ballistics expert. Who knew? I have much experience with guns. Ah. I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent bath of, no, blood of, extreme violent bloodbaths, perhaps. Duh, those, extreme violent bloodbaths. English is a very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have questions about bullets and guns, you ask me. There is nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But, if possible, please, only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, still, we should bear it in mind. He's our man if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. Van Zieks has managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the impossible, he said, but he hasn't. If we're going to fight back, we need more material. And we have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. Alright, let's go and pit the doctor and the Russian guy. In some ways, the jury works for us. In some ways, it works against us. Those two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other. Ooh, a ballistics expert. Pitting. Pit. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Villain. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts that is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night. There was blizzard. I was running away along Mountain Road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles, and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind, and I fell down in snow. And the situation was very similar to what I hear today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body, and no sign of, how do you say, exit wound. Then where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wounds. Oh, good gracious. Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me. And that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. Okay, so what was in... Something similar happened. What could have been in the store that could have, like, melted away or disappeared without a trace? But that doesn't answer the question at all. The shooting happened in a pawnbroker's shop. Not some snowy mountain road in another country. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. Runo, where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach, sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. Oh! Okay. A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigation. Oh! So that explains why they were having trouble with the anesthetic, is because he had that, whatever that was, the chemicals in his body. What? Really? What are the odds? Doctor, where is the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when we arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, while I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination, I should inform the defense I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Shums injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Ah, thank goodness. I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well. Well, extremely unconventional during a summation examination. I gotta give Van Zeeks credit. Like, he's not trying to hide information. Like, he's actually helping me out in a way. It seems that he wants to know the truth as well. I must demand the prosecution presents the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes's pouch. I see. So, this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? One's missing, or one's broken. Look at that! One of the files is broken, and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the file exploded. Exploded? So, that night, the bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes's pouch, and it was the glass file exploding that caused the fellow's injury. This bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into wall of shop. Ah, but okay, so that could still be the bullet then in the calendar. A delightfully complex aroma. Well, damn, we're still at 2 bullets then. Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved at least. But the blood. Can we get Sholmes's blood? Can we get a blood sample and find out if that green blood matches his blood? Though it has no bearing on the truth of the case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remains unaltered. Ugh. But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man. Duh. Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester the scruffy pouch as evidence. Hurley's pouch isn't scruffy. Well, let's look at it and see if we can find anything else at all. I need to believe there's a third bullet. Now, the summation examination. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion, Please, my lord, a little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything here, Ryunosuke. There's still a way to turn this around, somehow. I'm sure of it. Maybe by literally turning the pouch around. So let's examine it. Yeah, we got a lot of evidence here. Okay. Please let us find something. It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken. Look. This must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see. Ah, there it is. There it is. There it is. Yes, we got it. We got it. We got the third bullet. Hell yeah. What the? Iris, look. Behind where the broken vial was. Do you see it? Wow, good job investigating that. They didn't even find that. Oh, that's the Skulkin brothers' bullet. What a stroke of luck, it hit his pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is, there were 3 bullets fired at Windibanks that night. We found exactly what that juror was talking about. The third bullet. It's time to press that juror again, I think. Hell yeah. I can't believe the police overlooked that. Tisk tisk, Scotland Yard. Okay, so it was, the maid, I think. Hurley always turns up at just the right moment. Does he always come in the form of a pouch? Seriously, though, it sounds like the great detective was on death's door. But maybe his injuries won't be for nothing. That pouch could be a very valuable clue. Okay, so can I present... Can I just straight up present it? No, okay, so I'm gonna have to press her. Oh, yes, because there's a thing about saying, like, either, like, it's impossible or... Okay, so let's skip on ahead. Here we go. I can prove it. Allow me to show you, then, the third bullet. Oh, it feels good to actually have, like, concrete evidence.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Windibank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired.
Hold it!
What is this new trickery, you Nepalese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes's pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes's waist before he was taken to hospital. And it's like Van Zeke said, it hasn't been tampered with since, so it had to have happened on that night. And since then, it's been touched by no one. Do you mean to say the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible in this photographic print. Ah, 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windibank and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers. So now we gotta find who this mysterious other person is and this gun that wasn't at the scene. An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each other. But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Oh, it feels so good. Oh, it's so good to get him. Yes. Order, order, order. While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which this case against the defendant has been built. As it is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. Oh, you got a lot to answer for, you little buggers. Witnesses. Governor, were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor, we was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble. Simply answer this one question. A 3rd bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I did make nothing of nothing if I can help it. Is it one of yours? Gorblimey, Gov, gorblimey, not a chance. In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? What? Never. The Skulkin brothers work alone. It's just the 2 of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy, that's a head scratcher? Counsel for the defense. Yes. I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The 3rd bullet and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came. Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this 3rd bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. Oh boy. I'm gonna say it's nothing to do with them. I think it's a separate person who is working independently. I believe it has nothing to do with them. Eh? Nash, eh? That's right. Yeah, nothing to do with us, Gov. Did I pick the wrong answer? We've established that one bullet was fired from each of the two guns already known to the court. The logical conclusion, therefore, is that on the night in question at Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery, there was another person present in possession of a third firearm. Whilst the brothers may have had nothing to do with the third gun or the bullet fired from it, it's inconceivable that they had nothing to do with the third man. Yes, the brothers were working with an accomplice who was carrying a gun. I like how I chose it has nothing to do with them, but also they did have an accomplice, but they physically didn't kill Windibank. An accomplice, you say? Pigswill. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet, in all that time, there's been not a murmur of a third man. This apparently wraith-like being exists. The court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. Uh-oh. I don't even know who the third person is. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence, that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of this spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But, how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding? Well, counsel. Oh no, they're just making me, I gotta jump right into this. I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity? Okay, let's go to the court records right now. Let's check people. Oh yeah, there was this dude. Eggert Benedict. Okay, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the only other person that seemed interested in the music disc, right? That's what he wanted. And he was working with, like, Windibank about getting the thing back for him. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be him, but as to proof that he was there... Okay, let's examine. So there's the green blood. So that's Mason. That's Windibank. Unknown. It could be the green blood if only we had, like, proof that it was him. So we checked the blood on that. Is there anything else that would have blood on it? Or that we could prove that that guy was there? Trying to think, when did the blood get on this music disc in the first place? It's not Gina's blood. No, it can't be Gina's blood. Okay. Response to the prosecution's demands, my lord. The defense is... Oh boy. I'll say ready to present answers and hope for the best. The defense is ready. Okay, I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. My eyes are like bugging out like this. I'm like, I'm gonna bullshit my way through this. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. If we could just get enough... If we could just get enough to bring that guy in, have him give a blood sample, and if it comes up green, well then we can prove he was at the scene of the crime. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. But then that would mean that he had been shot. So if he had like a bullet wound or something, or any type of wounds, okay, I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, counsel, I would ask you to present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you there was a third intruder present at the scene? Alright, I'm gonna go with the blood, because we have to figure out who that blood belongs to. Oh god, I hope this is right. Oh my god, I was right, okay. The evidence is right here in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this third intruder. Well, which one is it? What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a bloodstain, my lord. A bloodstain? We shot Shrek. Shrek was there. Green blood? Curious, even for you. Is the court to understand the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective. New invention, stop. Not yet appeared in stories, stop. It's this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color. Different elements of people's blood? Yes. Everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Ooh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom, stop. Very exciting, stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Windibank. Ah, a striking blue. Yes, so you see, the green color of this blood stain on the calendar shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now, hold fire right there, young man. Could it be from some unrelated incident? Couldn't it? No, the calendar, dude. No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windibank was killed. By golly. Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. Then whose blood is it? Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else, the third intruder. So if it is that Eggert guy, why was he shot?
Objection.
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. Maybe it was Windibank. Maybe Windibank shot at the intruder, and then he shot him with his gun, and they misidentified the bullet killing Windibank as coming from his gun when it was from this mysterious third gun that we don't know about. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder? I mean, there's nobody else. Maybe it's Strongheart. But let's go with him.
Take that.
The man's name is Eggert Benedict. Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, Counsel? He paid a visit to Windibank's pawnbrokery on the afternoon before the incident took place. When the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. Oh! Okay, yeah, so the blood... I'm trying to think of when the blood got on the music disc. If that's his, the green blood from the music disc, and the green blood... Yeah, there we go. We just gotta get a blood sample. We got him. Like, it's done. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Oh, did he cut himself on it, right? Broker. Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes. The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs, too. Oh, I can't wait to see this guy in the stand. He's so dramatic. I love it. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector? Yes, my lord. That's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windibank for a print showing the fellow. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder, gubbinesses. Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Windibank that morning. And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice. Well, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin? Never seen the geezer before in my life. On my life, Gov, on my life. Never seen him. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then show us the evidence. I agree. We must see proof this clean-cut gentleman is in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. Alright. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something's been missing in this trial from the very start. But now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel? Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. I think... Oh, we gotta do it from the picture. Proof the man pictured in this photograph was... Oh, okay. And I thought I had to pick something from the picture. I was like, what? I think he did. I think he did get... he got cut by the... when he was trying to go for the disc. And there's a little fingerprint. So... Oh, I have to present the whole thing. Okay. There we go. That proof is right here in this portfolio. Good gracious, counsel. Does that portfolio contain the answers to every question posed? I see you share my interest in claret-colored liquids, my Nipponese friend, but... Enough. The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet at the scene of the crime? As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully, admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windibanks. Which is when the aforementioned Eggert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no? That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this a minor incident occurred. But of course, sir, here's the disc for you. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute. That disc is mine. Oh, what do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now. Goodness, a bloodstain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty Fokker gun. Yes, and we added the results to this portfolio. I say, it's green. It's exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Eggert Benedict, who was in Windibanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So there was someone else. Look at those two brothers now. They're sweating buckets. Oi, who are you talking about? It's boiling in here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Eggert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It would certainly seem we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection.
This has gone on long enough now, this flagrant ignorance of the mechanisms of law. Herlock Sholmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes, a god of detection, or some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court in the land? Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Ah, well... And, pray, do not even think of suggesting we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. Is he right? Mr. Sholmes' concoction a load of rubbish? I don't know. I mean, he is a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't get away with that. I knew it would come to this. Of course Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. Oh, in other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it? Good grief. What did you just say, young girl? And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she's right. She's doing a damn fine job taking over Susato's place. Young lady, you have quite the devious mind. It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Runo. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter. After that shrewd precis of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in the matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Yeah!
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Woohoo!
Guilty.
Aw.
Guilty.
Aw.
Not guilty.
That's okay, we got enough. It's still gonna go. Two call guilty and 4 call not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection.
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt. That's a good way to, is to insult the jury, who are, going to be, the deciding factor on how this trial goes. I'm sorry, Lord Van Zeeks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue. Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But, sadly, I fear that will be impossible. What? The name the gentleman gave for himself, Eggert Benedict, is quite clearly false. I guess Ryunosuke, he's Japanese, so he doesn't quite understand that even in the world of Ace Attorney, that is a strange name, and most likely not real. I don't believe it. Just when I'd managed to prove the man was there that night. Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke? It was me, my lord. Juror number 5. What have you to say, madam? If possible, Inspector. Eh? Me, ma'am? I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again, the one in which the gentleman is shown. Ah, right, yes, this one you mean, of Mr. Benedict. Yes, there's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say. You know this man? Man, it's just, it's amazing the jury that's selected, they just seem to know the weirdest information. Like I said, sometimes it feels like it's stacked against me, but then sometimes it works in my favor. Yes, I know him. What? No. Good gracious. Order, order, order. Juror number 5. How on earth? I am a communications officer. Stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is. Stop. Also, a communications officer. Stop. He works in my office. Stop. What are the odds? Look at her. She's like glowing. She's so happy. A very talented operator, in fact. Stop. He should be in the communication station now. Stop. Tapping away on the telegraph. Stop. This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong. No, it's something else. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's really obvious, but I feel like... If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zeeks, if you please. Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste. As your lordship bids. The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson. Yes, my lord. I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m. Ooh, we finally get a break. So, man, this has been a long one so far. And I don't know how much longer it is. Alright, and that will do it for episode 18. So we're heating up here with this trial. I don't know how much longer it is. Like I said, the last trial is always like super long. I don't know if it's like we're... Usually when they break for recess, it usually means we're at about the halfway point. So we'll have to see. But some very interesting information coming up. I totally forgot about the Eggert guy. Like, I should have known he was going to come back into this somehow. So that's the big question is... who is this guy actually? A communications officer? A little bit of a surprise. He's working with McGilded somehow to retrieve his stuff. What is his grand plan? Was he the one who killed Mr. Windibank? And how is this all going to tie up? I don't think we're going to be finishing up this case or this trial in the next episode. But I'm very interested to see what information we're going to find out if we can get him subpoenaed and brought onto the stand and find out some more information. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for part 19 next week. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Sparky, Dumbass Loser, Tequila Mockingbird, Puncake G, Derek Nickel, Harry Gazif, Asborn Kennedy, and Icognito.